Hey, everybody. Welcome to Vince on a Friday. Great to have you with us. Boy, we've got a big show ahead for you. We're going to get into the latest out of the Epstein saga because Ghislaine Maxwell is now entering day 2 of meeting with Justice Department officials and telling them apparently everything she knows. We have actually some really interesting reports coming out about that. Also, who's the first to get the handcuffs in the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that the Obama administration has coordinated? Some names are popping right to the very top right now in terms of what can we do to go after these guys. And we will be joined by Erica Donalds today. She is the wife of Congressman Byron Donalds, an expert on education. And we have a lot of really important breaking education news, too. All great for the country. It's all ahead on this edition of Vince. As always, great to have you with us. Let me see here. We've got great sponsors who support this program, and that includes Patriot Mobile. Have you tried Patriot Mobile yet? They're awesome. You've got a lot of choices for cell phone service with new ones popping up all the time. But here is the truth. There's really only one that boldly stands in the gap for every American that believes that freedom is worth fighting for. And that is Patriot Mobile. The good news is you can switch to Patriot Mobile today without sacrificing any quality or service. If you're worried about coverage, don't be. Patriot Mobile uses all 3 major U.S. networks. If you have service in this country today, well, you'll have as good or better coverage with Patriot Mobile. Think switching is a hassle? It's not. You can keep your number, keep your phone, or even upgrade. In fact, with Patriot Mobile, I added a second line to my phone, so now I have 2 networks that I can get great phone coverage and data coverage from all across the country. Patriot Mobile's 100% U.S.-based team will get you activated in just minutes from the comfort of your home. Stuck in a contract or you owe money on your phones? No worries. Patriot Mobile has a contract buyout program. This is how we win, folks, by aligning our spending with our values. Every dollar that we spend, it does matter. Go to patriotmobile.com/Vince or call 972-PATRIOT. Use promo code Vince and get a free month of service. Switch today. That's patriotmobile.com/Vince or call 972-PATRIOT. Intro. Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's how I trigger it. I just yell intro and it works. I don't know why. We added voice activation to the show. Yeah. It is great to have you with us. Should I start with Jerome Powell? I think the Jerome Powell story is honestly one of the funniest stories. Okay, good. Justin's a yes vote on that. President Trump paid a visit to the Federal Reserve building yesterday. And while he was there, he was surveying the construction that they're doing. We've been spending a lot of money on this project, and it just keeps going up and up and up and up. And so President Trump was standing there with Jerome Powell yesterday, and he points out right in front of the press that the cost overruns have been ridiculous, and both men are there. They're wearing their construction helmets to visit the work site. And Jerome Powell looks completely flattened by President Trump. He doesn't even know how to handle this tour de force as it arrives at the Federal Reserve building. Take a look here. Here's Jerome Powell trying to survive the Trump tornado. Cut 5. Here he is.
So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1,
3.2.
This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a 3rd building is what that is. That's a 3rd building.
Well, no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's not new.
So we're going to...
These guys, I don't know. It's like a comedy sketch watching this. It's really funny. But the president is right to point out that the cost overruns have been absurd. And he shows this piece of paper it's got the receipts on it showing just how dramatically more expensive it has been to build all of these ridiculous Federal Reserve buildings. Jerome Powell doesn't actually have a leg to stand on as he's there. He's like, no, that was a while ago. Dude, the cost overruns have been absurd, and it's your fault. And in fact, we have an update on that particular story this morning that comes to us from a great guy. His name is Mark Paoletta. He's a lawyer over at the Office of Management and Budget. He pulled the numbers on this because the left is insisting this morning that, oh, look at that, Trump getting owned by Jerome Powell. No, not at all. President Trump is 100% correct in the numbers that he used on his tour of the Federal Reserve building yesterday. The documents, according to Mark here, with receipts, there's receipts here, you can see them. The documents show that the Federal Reserve Building's 2022 budget, it was adopted way back in 21, was supposed to be $1.4 billion for the Eccles in 1951 building of that project, and a total budget for all three buildings of $1.8 billion. But now they're more than $1 billion over cost at this point, bringing the renovation cost to $3.1 billion. So the president he visited the Federal Reserve Building to try to encourage Jerome Powell to get the job done quickly without any more cost overruns. Mark adds, thank you for your attention to this matter. Yeah, so he's got the receipt. So anyway, as you hear all of the chaos around this story and you're wondering who was right here, once again, the president was right, and he embarrassed Jerome Powell in front of everybody, which was really fun. I really enjoyed seeing that. He also had a great moment where he literally physically just slapped Jerome Powell in the back and told him, dude, you need to lower rates. You need to lower the rates. Here's President Trump yesterday, cut 6, telling Jerome Powell, now's the time.
A long way to go. Yes, sir. So,
President, are there things the chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. But other than that, what can I tell you?
Boom, hits him in the back. I need you to lower interest rates, fella. That would be really good. Have you seen any of the memes from this, by the way? Have you seen all the memes going around? They're so good. The memes on this particular thing have just been wonderful. Here's President Trump and Jerome Powell. This one where he's, it's a Dilly meme team meme. Yeah, good job, Dilly guys. Look at this. Check this out.
This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
Trump points at the paper, and for those of you listening on the audio podcast, it says, you're gay. There's the camera shot just zooms in on it. It says, you're gay, and it's Donald Trump's signature on the bottom of the paper. Here's another one. This one's great. Here's Powell's underwear just pulled up over his head. He's standing next to Trump. That's, I think, Polito Rican posted that one. The Rican memes. Congratulations. And then there's this one, I think maybe my favorite, from Il Donaldo Trumpo. Look at this.
As a real estate developer, what would you do with a project manager who would be over budget?
Generally speaking, what would I do? I'd fire him.
Generally speaking, I'd fire him. So good. Anyway, so it didn't go well yesterday for Jerome Powell, who should lower rates. You know, when President Trump was in office, his mortgage experts have been talking about this, the guys who handle the housing industry. When President Trump was in office, mortgage rates were down around 3%, actually, which was a great time to buy a house. Now they're around 7%. And Powell is stubbornly holding on to the rates, keeping them high right now. And the president keeps saying, you got to lower these bad boys. Right now, it appears that the way the president is handling this is he's keeping them around until his term expires in May. So that we've got some time left, but eventually Jerome Powell set to leave. But there's the president. There's the president showing up and dominating him yesterday in front of the cameras. What is that, though? Jerome Powell, what a weird arrangement. We've got a Federal Reserve that acts like it's completely unaccountable to the people. The President of the United States correctly points out the cost overruns that they have with this building, and Jerome Powell shakes his head and says no. He starts telling the president he's wrong in front of cameras and fighting with him. What is that? We don't have a fourth branch of government. We've just got three. We've just got three branches of government and the United States Constitution. How does the Federal Reserve fit into all of this if they get to tell the president he's wrong and no, not true, and act all indignant? A little bit crazy. But the president put him in his place yesterday, so that was a fun place to start. I love that so much. Also yesterday, one of the big news items, the Department of Justice met with Ghislaine Maxwell yesterday. This was down in Tallahassee, Florida. They met her at a courthouse. They pulled her out of prison for a little bit. And Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, met with Ghislaine Maxwell for many hours yesterday. He just spent his entire working day talking to her. There were some images of her going back to prison carrying a box of documents, presumably to review them or something. And they were set to have more conversations today, day 2 of conversations between Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, and Ghislaine Maxwell. It is, as far as we can tell, it's been productive. Ghislaine Maxwell's attorneys announced yesterday that she answered every question, like Joe Biden calling out Joe. You answered all the questions, Joe. Hopefully Ghislaine gave us more substance than Joe Biden ever did. She answered all the questions yesterday, and they're in for day 2 today. It strikes me that means that this conversation is productive enough to continue to be worth it, that she didn't give empty answers yesterday. Take a look at this. We have Ghislaine Maxwell's attorneys yesterday, cut 3, discussing some basics about what she was sharing with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche.
We had a very productive day today with the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell. First, we want to thank the Deputy Attorney General for being so professional with all of us and for meeting with us. He took a full day and asked a lot of questions, and Ms. Maxwell answered every single question. She never stopped, she never invoked a privilege, she never declined to answer. She answered all the questions truthfully, honestly, and to the best of her ability. And that's all the comment we're going to have today about the meeting. We don't want to comment about...
They don't want to comment about the substance, he would go on to say. So that's it. So that no answers on the actual substance of the conversation, but worthwhile enough that Todd Blanche thinks, okay, I'll spend another day doing this. We did get an account from Todd Blanche overnight about this. He did say that the conversation is continuing. Today, I met with Ghislaine Maxwell. I will continue my interview of her tomorrow. The Department of Justice will share additional information about what we learned at the appropriate time. Hey, Todd, sooner's going to be better than later. Don't upend any prosecutions here. Obviously, you've got to retain any information necessary to go after people, but we'd love to hear more as soon as you can get it to us. But that's useful. And what is that, if not an expression of the seriousness of the Trump administration to get to the bottom of this? They send this guy in there to talk to the living witness. No other Justice Department has even bothered to talk to her. What's that about? Why wouldn't they talk to her if she's at the center of this epic crime ring? Yeah, talk to her. Todd Blanche is doing it now. And hopefully we get some real answers. And that's the Trump administration trying to be transparent here. They've been trying to release grand jury testimony as well. They've been getting pushback from the judges involved in all of that, but no question that they're trying to get the information out. There's also the United States Senate overnight also attempted to try and get more information out as well. They were calling the Democrats bluff here because Democrats are like, we want the Epstein documents out. Really? You do? Okay. So Republican Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin went to the floor of the Senate yesterday and asked for unanimous consent. In other words, don't even bother voting on it. If nobody objects, let's just get this thing through. Let's get the Epstein documents out there. Let's do it. So Markwayne Mullin goes to the floor yesterday with that expectation, and he's immediately stopped by Democrats. Immediately stopped yesterday. Take a look. Cut 4. Markwayne Mullin attempts to get this information out.
Mr. President, as I said before, we want transparency. But the courts control the grand jury. The judges that oversee the courts control the grand jury. We, in this body, can have resolutions back and forth and suggest that it be done, but truthfully, the judges have to do it. AG Bondi and the President has both already called upon the judges to release this information. What my resolution is simply saying is we agree with the President, we agree with AG Bondi on the judges and calling upon the judges to release it. So as if in legislation session and notwithstanding Rule 22, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the consideration of S. Res. 335.
Is there objection?
Reserving the right to object, Mr. President.
Senator from Arizona is recognized.
Mr. President, let me explain to
Yeah, and then he registered his objection. That denied unanimous consent. The documents don't get released. So that was Ruben Gallego, the Democrat senator from Arizona, instantly raising an objection here. So, you know, they're good for Mark Wayne Mullen. He calls these guys bluff. He's like, good, you want to release these documents? Great. It's great to see bipartisan consensus on this. Let's get this bad boy out. He tries. They refuse. They refuse. And they could refuse for any number of reasons. We can easily speculate on what that might be. They may be concerned, of course, that Bill Clinton has real exposure here to damaging information being released about him should it get out. That major Democrat donors, people like Reid Hoffman and Bill Gates, may have real exposure here if that information gets out. The other piece is maybe Ruben Gallego wants to hold on to this as some sort of political weapon. As long as the documents aren't out, Democrats can pretend they want that, and they can use that as a distraction from the Obama conspiracy against the country. Yes, that's right. You know, what you're seeing this week is the left is presenting Epstein as the primary story. And they're saying that the Obama conspiracy, the one that Tulsi Gabbard is revealing in stunning detail, is a distraction. Now, think this through for a moment. Think through how stupid that particular claim is. Tulsi Gabbard has been working on declassification and investigating all of this since the moment she arrived in office. It didn't take her a week to come up with all of this. It wasn't like the Epstein story was big about, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and all of a sudden Tulsi Gabbard just whipped up some sort of distraction in order to get everybody's eye off the ball. That doesn't even make any sense whatsoever. Everything that she's revealed has been completely both authentic and useful for our understanding of just how corrupt the Obama administration is, and they are rightly now under the kind of scrutiny that should lead to handcuffs and mugshots and trials and convictions. All of that is totally legitimate. And in fact, the screeching about Epstein has only grown from the left the closer President Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, Dan Bongino, and Kash Patel get to holding these people accountable. The closer we get to Obama world's crimes, the more we're hearing screeching from the left about Epstein. This morning, the left, of course, as you know, includes John Bolton. Bolton, who is a ridiculous human being, the human walrus, who came out yesterday, and he said the following. He said, Tulsi Gabbard is not competent enough to serve as DNI, he wrote. She's distracting the public from the Epstein files to try and save her job. That was John Bolton who said that. Now, Bolton, of course, is inverting the fact pattern. He's lying to you. The point of raising Epstein is to distract from the crimes that Obama committed and the people around him committed. You and I both know that normal people can demand both. We want transparency. We want accountability. We want arrests. And I'm not settling for one of these stories. I'm not settling for Epstein, and I'm not settling for going after the Obama conspiracy. I want both. That's my expectation. I have high standards, and I want them to be fulfilled. And here you have John Bolton claiming one's a distraction from the other. The left doesn't care about the Epstein story. To the extent they do, it's mostly to cover it up so that the elders of their party aren't implicated in dire crimes. They're concerned about that. But right now, all they're doing is trying to advance chaos in order to sustain the cover-up. The more sand they can kick up in the air, the thinking is, the less likely it is that we get to the bottom of the stuff that matters. That's what's going on here. So every time you hear going forward, any lefty claim that, oh, this is all a distraction from the Epstein saga. No, they're trying to mount a distraction to prevent you from taking a hard look at Obama, and more importantly, in this case, to prevent people from actually holding them accountable. Don't let them do it. I've got updates on that story in a moment as well. Who's the first person who's likely, the first high-profile person who's likely to get handcuffs thrown on him? We'll explore that in just a moment. You know his name. I'll get into the details here as we continue on this edition of Vince. Also, Erica Donalds is just moments away. We've got a lot to talk about. Have you heard of Caralluma by any chance? It's an edible cactus that grows in India. It's believed to be a natural appetite suppressant. Caralluma is just one of the natural ingredients that doctors have added to a remarkable weight loss supplement that's called Lean. It's from Brickhouse Nutrition. If you have a bold summer weight loss goal, but injections are not for you, here's what the doctors who formulated Lean have said. They said this supplement is as close as we've come to the benefits of those popular injections. Like injections, Brickhouse Nutrition's Lean was created to help maintain healthy blood sugar and help control appetite and cravings. But the rare ingredients in Lean are also designed to help burn fat by converting that fat into energy. And the best part, no needles, just real results. Their doctors created a healthier way to lose weight by capturing the power of natural ingredients like Caralluma. It is just smart. So let's get you started with 20% off. Just use the code VINCE20 at TakeLean.com. That's code VINCE20 at TakeLean.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, and it is not a substitute or alternative for care from a healthcare provider. I've always got this massive pile of news in front of me, and sometimes I move too quickly away from the things that I want to share with you. One more thing on the Epstein saga, at least for this morning. We've got a Wall Street Journal piece that came out overnight, and the Journal piece claims, what it does is they finally reveal that this Epstein book that they were saying that President Trump at one point in, was it 2003, that he had doodled a picture of a naked woman, and it was in the Jeffrey Epstein birthday book. Okay, that's supposed to be an epic scandal. The president has denied any of that. But even if it were true, the whole thing is so completely stupid. He doodled a naked lady. That's really the story. Now we find out from the Wall Street Journal that it wasn't, that this book, this alleged book, doesn't just include Trump. It includes people like Bill Clinton, Leon Black, Les Wexner, Vera Wang. Here's the piece from the Wall Street Journal overnight. And they saved the Bill Clinton component of this until now. Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book includes letters from Bill Clinton, Leon Black, and they give us the Clinton letter. Here's what it said. The album, it was assembled before Epstein was even first arrested in 2006, included a page with a single paragraph in Clinton's distinctive scrawl. That is to say, Bill Clinton definitely wrote this, the Wall Street Journal says. It's reassuring, isn't it, to have lasted as long across all the years of learning and knowing, adventures and illegible word, and also to have your childlike curiosity, the drive to make a difference, and the solace of friends. The creepiest line in this whole thing, the creepiest phrase, is referring to Epstein's, quote, childlike curiosity. Childlike curiosity. A spokesman for Clinton declined to comment on the birthday message. So now they tell us that Bill Clinton was involved in all of this. I love how they saved that. Yes. Yeah, I think that Justin is picking up what I was putting down with the childlike thing. He said, I think he means curiosity for the childlike. Yeah. Epstein's a pervert. That's the summary. And Bill Clinton, I don't know what he's doing with that phrasing, but it ain't good. It ain't good. So there you go. So the Wall Street Journal finally revealing all of that. They saved. The question becomes, as my good friend Chuck Ross is asking this week, how long did they sit on all this information? They had all these details and they just didn't tell you until now? Look, here's Chuck Ross. The Wall Street Journal now reports that 6 people, including Bill Clinton and Vera Wang, signed the Epstein birthday book that Trump had allegedly signed. Either Wall Street Journal already knew this, but have been playing games, or their sources only just provided this key context. Yeah, there's some funny business going on here with this whole attempt to, again, mount a distraction. A naked doodle is not news. A naked doodle is not news. And yet they're trying to mount a distraction right as Tulsi Gabbard is exposing the entire Obama conspiracy. Now, on that story, Who's the first? Who's the most likely to get the handcuffs first? Well, yesterday, I made, I think, a pretty strong case to you that John Brennan, the former CIA director, is well established on record as lying about their attempts to pull off this hoax. Because he claimed over and over, both in congressional testimony and in media interviews, that they never tried to use the Steele dossier to justify all of the ridiculous investigations into the Trump campaign and the claims that Russia tried to steal the election on Trump's behalf. He claimed, we never used it. It was never a part of the assessment. Tulsi Gabbard, of course, revealed this week, Brennan's lying. In fact, she said that out loud. She said, Brennan is lying to you about this. They definitely used Hillary Clinton's fake opposition research as the entire meaningful basis for the intelligence community assessment. And that brings us to not my assessment, but a legal assessment from Jonathan Turley this week. He says, John Brennan may be the guy with the most obvious legal culpability in this scheme. Here's cut one. Jonathan Turley saying John Brennan is in deep kimchi.
The court on this?
Well, Jason has a very good point here, and he's walked the walk. He's been there in Congress and trying to get this information. And it does appear that a couple of these figures may have committed perjury. I think the most vulnerable may be Brennan, who's like a 30-point buck now out in the open. I mean, this stuff goes directly to information that he gave to Congress. It seems to be in contradiction. And so there are real questions here. I mean, people talk about, well, you can't charge Obama. That's very likely the case. He's probably protected. But these individuals, whether it's Comey or Brennan, are not protected from perjury charges if the statute of limitations has not run. They are more likely to be called again to repeat prior testimony.
Okay, a couple things. One, John Brennan may be the ugliest 30-point buck that anyone has ever seen. That guy just has a face that not even a mother could love. Ugh. He looks like a catcher's mitt. And then the other piece there is you heard Turley talking about like whether the statute of limitations has run on perjury and whether these guys could be hauled in again and maybe they'll perjure themselves again. They should be called in. Just keep stacking up the potential charges on top of these. What are you doing showing the clip of Turley? Why is Turley on screen? I'm talking about Brennan. You going to show Brennan's face? Is that what you're trying to do there, Justin? No, that was Turley. I saw a picture. I saw Turley's a smiling face on screen just now. You cut to the wrong frame. Yeah, I don't want to accuse Turley of looking like a catcher's mitt. I'm talking John Brennan. Yeah, hold on, says Justin. There you go. No, not Turley. Brennan. What are you doing, Justin? What kind of operation are we running here? This is crazy. Yeah. There's Brennan. My buddy Chris Plant calls him penitentiary face John Brennan, which is really funny. I love Chris Plant's the best, and he's right about that. That face. We need to complete the set. We need to match it up with a prison cell somewhere. There he is. But the other piece here, what Turley's talking about, is going after the statute of limitations issues here. I want to remind everybody that the statute of limitations on conspiracy, that keeps going from the last overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. So 5 years every time from the last overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. And that can include public denials. So all this week, you've been hearing from people like Brennan. You've been hearing from Barack Obama's spokesman, people saying that Tulsi Gabbard is crazy. She's lying. There's no truth to this. This is fantastical, and on and on and on. All of that, lawyers have concluded through time, can definitely be used as the latest act in furtherance of the conspiracy, again, pushing that statute of limitations out another 5 years. So a lot to work with here by the guys who are pursuing all of it. And you can tell, we've been through this before. The louder they screech, the more over the target we are. So glad to see Tulsi Gabbard sticking to her guns here as she goes after these guys. And John Brennan would be a big takedown. That would be quite the 30-point buck to get that guy's head on the wall. That'd be a big one. So we'll see. We'll see. You think Kash Patel and Dan Bongino want to get John Brennan in handcuffs? Do they go to the arrest do you think? Like, if that actually happens, do you think one or both of them? I feel like Dan is going to want to do that. Show up and put the handcuffs on him. We will see. That could be amazing. At any rate, we've got a lot to get to. Coming up here, Erica Donalds is going to be with us. We're going to talk education with her. The Trump administration has done something amazing. After years of us wasting money on institutions that don't educate anybody, they just propagandize them and turn them into little radicals. All of a sudden, these big universities are coughing up hundreds of millions of dollars to the United States Treasury, which is remarkable. Just remarkable. We'll get to that coming up with Erica Donalds. Before we get there, though, I do have to ask you, what if you could delay, speaking of payments, what if you could delay your next 2 mortgage payments? That's right. Imagine putting those 2 payments in your pocket and finally getting a little bit of breathing room. It's possible when you call American Financing today. If you're feeling stretched by everyday expenses, groceries, gas, bills piling up, you're not alone. Most Americans are putting these expenses on a credit card. And candidly, there doesn't seem to be a way out for them. American Financing can show you how to use your home's equity to pay off that debt. You should call American Financing today before you get to a point where you can't make those payments. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are helping homeowners just like you restructure their loans and consolidate debt, all without upfront fees. And their customers are saving an average of $800 a month. That's like a $10,000 raise. It's fast, it's simple, and it could save your budget this summer. Call now before it's too late. That's 888-879-6460. 888-879-6460. AmericanFinancing.net/Vince. NMLS 182334. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Yes, indeed. Also, I should tell you about Blackout Coffee, which fills my cup and energizes me each and every day. Blackout Coffee is awesome. Look, John, the owner at Blackout Coffee, I got to meet him, speaking of Dan Mangino, when we did the big handoff down in Florida. Oh, and I'm heading back to Florida. I've got news to share with you on that. I'll get to that. We'll get to that. But I met John while I was down there. And ever since then, I've been in touch. He's a great guy, and he's actually built Blackout Coffee from the ground up. He refuses to compromise on quality or values. This Blackout Coffee is America First coffee. It's roasted fresh right here in the United States. There's no woke nonsense, just bold, strong coffee for people who actually get stuff done. And you see, Blackout Coffee has been the official coffee of all of us here at Silverlock. This is a brand that not only stands for the right values, but energizes the people who like to talk about them. And they make a great cup of coffee. I drink my coffee black, so Blackout Coffee is for me because it's delicious. Here's the deal. John is hooking you up as well. Head over to blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Use the code Vince. That's VINCE. And you're going to get 20% off your first order. Whether you like whole bean ground or even instant coffee that doesn't suck, Blackout Coffee has you covered. Yes, they do. They really do. Blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Use the code Vince and get 20% off your first order. That's blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Thank you to Blackout for supporting the program. Appreciate you guys, as always. Okay. I am very happy to say that we have joining us now, the great Erica Donalds is here in the house joining us. Erica is, Byron Donalds' wife, as she describes it on her Twitter account. She's a boy mom as well, an entrepreneur, and with the America First Policy Institute, working on education as well. You really do it all, Erica. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
We've got a lot of education news, actually, this week, so it makes it a timely opportunity to chat with you. The President of the United States, the Trump administration, has successfully scored a $200 million payment out of Columbia University. People will remember that Columbia has been in utter chaos as left-wing radicals have been taking over the campus and then committing acts of bigotry against their fellow students. Give us your sense of what this means. It does feel like something's changing.
Certainly the tide is turning. This is a huge win for the Trump administration and Secretary McMahon, with Columbia agreeing to not only that $200 million fine, but a myriad of concessions centered around those anti-Semitic activities on campus. One of them being, of course, ensuring that students who are inciting violence or vandalizing the campus are appropriately punished for doing so. Other protections for our Jewish students who have been bullied and harassed on campus without any recourse. Things things like also making sure that these vandals and protesters do not have masks on their faces, concealing their identity so that they cannot be held accountable in the future, but eliminating DEI programs and racial quotas that Columbia and other elite universities had in place, and also ensuring that all of their admissions are done based on merit. It seems like we shouldn't have to talk about these things and agree to them in massive lawsuits, but here we are.
Yeah, no, and also this is common sense, and this is following the law. It's not like obviously the president is enforcing it here, but this was already the law. You're not allowed to be bigoted and receive federal dollars. So DEI, by its very nature, is racial bigotry. That's not acceptable. You can't receive federal money under the Civil Rights Act as a result of all of that. And yet the left was allowing this to continue forever. President Trump, the first guy to stop it.
You're absolutely right. People say this is like Trump's mandate. They say that Trump is the one who's doing this, but it's actually just Trump enforcing law that has already been in place. Some of these laws have been in place for decades, including Title IX, for example, where men are not allowed in women's sports and women's private spaces. That's the whole creation of Title IX, was enacted to protect women and women's athletic opportunities. And yet the Trump administration, being the first, especially after President Biden, President Obama, to actually enforce these federal laws. Also, the Supreme Court upholding that affirmative action is discriminatory within itself. And yet these institutions were being allowed to continue those race-based admissions. President Trump, of course, laying down the law, so to speak, and making sure that those do not continue, really changing the entire trajectory of these schools and hopefully bringing them back into a focus on meritocracy and ensuring that they are protecting American interests.
So Columbia coughing up $200 million. I can tell you, I'm already sensing it. This is scaring the hell out of every other university now, because they're looking, that's the precedent, $200 million. And we have reports this morning that the Trump administration wants more. Columbia is just the beginning. They're going to go after a bunch of other very high-profile institutions. And the golden goose here appears to be Harvard. The Trump administration wants a big paycheck from Harvard. Do you think they'll get it?
Well, our federal tax dollars have been propping up Harvard, even with their $52 billion in the bank in their endowment. And we've been doing so in a way that has upheld anti-American interests, as we've seen with Harvard and their activities. And instead of negotiating with the Trump administration the way that Columbia has, Harvard has doubled down. They're suing the Trump administration. They're demanding that their research funding continue, the billions of taxpayer dollars. They're now under investigation by the State Department. Marco Rubio announced this week for their activities related to foreign student visas and whether they are being transparent in following federal law in their ability to issue those foreign visas to students. So unfortunately, we're seeing two dichotomies here. We're seeing Columbia cooperate with the administration, come to an agreement, pay the necessary fines, and move forward, whereas Harvard is digging in their heels. They don't want to make the necessary steps to protect their Jewish students, to combat anti-Semitism, violence on campus, and they still want that federal paycheck and the federal dollars that go with it.
Well, they've got a formidable opponent in President Trump. We'll see how that settles out. Speaking of the president and education, the big, beautiful bill just became the big, beautiful law recently. And obviously the top line items include that the rest of us get to keep our tax cuts from 2017. We get a couple extra tax cuts piled on top, which is wonderful. And we get a lot of border security and immigration enforcement in the country. But I think people may have lost that in this law are also some big educational wins. Give us a sense of what's inside the law for American families.
Huge wins, actually, not just for American families, but for President Trump, who promised that he would enact school choice at the federal level. He is now our school choice president because we have the largest expansion of school choice in history with a federal tax credit scholarship program, which allows every individual taxpayer in the country, if you pay more than $1,700 in taxes, you have a dollar for dollar credit, not a deduction, but a credit. You can donate those funds to a scholarship funding organization. Those scholarship funding organizations will need to get them approved in all 50 states, which is what AFPI is going to be working on. But they will be able to turn those donations into scholarships for students to attend private school, for homeschool expenses, tutoring, special needs services, really an expansive list of accommodations and tuition payments for families across the country to get the education freedom that they deserve. This is going to be absolutely huge. It goes into effect 1/1/2027. That's when those donations can start rolling in. And in 2027, we will have those first federal tax credit scholarships in families' hands.
And this is at what levels of education?
This is K to 12, these tax credit scholarships, although they can be used to pay for dual enrollment and certifications, CTEs, career and technical education. Another thing in the Big Beautiful Bill in regards to K-12 education was the expansion of 529 accounts and allowable expenses. Some of you might have 529s, and they were able to be used for private school tuition up to $10,000. That's been lifted to $20,000 and now also includes not just private school tuition, but homeschool expenses, curriculum, online courses, tutoring, dual enrollment, similar types of expenses that are allowing families to customize their children's education with these programs.
It's amazing. So it is achievable at the federal level. He just did it for us to have access to some of the money that we're putting out in order to choose where we send our kids to school. Because, one of the challenges, for so many families is when the government schools suck, they try and turn to the private schools, and then they end up sort of double paying. They pay for every other kid to go to the government schools, and then they have to pull out of their own pocket to pay for their kid to go to a better, more acceptable private school. It seems like it goes a long way to fixing that problem.
Well, in the States, we're continuing to expand universal school choice and formula funded choice. It's important to have that aspect when it comes to the state choice programs like we have here in Florida, where if I choose to take my child to a private school and I get the scholarship to go with it, that the district school, the government run school, loses those funds. If you don't have that formula funding at the state level, then you don't have that free market competitive advantage that's going to benefit all students. If they're not losing any money when they lose kids, they're not going to make any changes to improve the system. So it's so important as we're enacting, and now we've enacted 17 states, universal school choice and growing, that those policies are made so that free market competition is actually working in the states. And to your point, the money follows the child. All the money follows the child. We've got more work to do, but we've come a long way.
What do you think the president and the education department should do about school districts who remain in open revolt against students and families? Because there are a number of school districts I can point to across the country, especially in left-wing areas where, of course, where they're still pushing DEI garbage on the kids. They're still pushing transgender garbage on the kids. They're forcing them to consume disgusting pornography in the classrooms. The federal government has a lot of leverage here. I can think of one example nearby where I am, Fairfax County, Virginia. They take $50 million a year in federal funding. I mean, if the president wanted to, he could snap his fingers and say, you don't get it anymore. Should they do that? Should the Trump administration do that?
They absolutely should. They're threatening to do so with California because California has refused to follow Title IX in keeping men out of women's sports. And now they're being investigated by the DOJ. I don't think we should slow walk this. I think just as you said, we should immediately cut off funding as soon as we are able to and confidently have it upheld in court, because we have to make an example out of someone or multiple districts to show you are not entitled to this federal funding. The only way you get federal funding from the American taxpayers is if you are following the law and if you are upholding American interest in protecting parental rights. When you refuse to do those things, you lose the privilege of having that additional federal funding, and you're on your own as a state when it comes to education funding. Trump absolutely, and Linda McMahon, I believe that they want to do this, and I believe they will do this if there are schools and districts that continue to buck the law. We also, though, now have the ability, thanks to the Supreme Court decision in Mahmoud, for parents to opt out of individual lessons. And if parents have an issue with opting out of any questionable content, not just sex education, but any content across the curriculum, I encourage them to reach out to me at America First Policy Institute, because we will help defend them legally.
That Supreme Court case, by the way, came from another D.C. suburb. That was Montgomery County, Maryland, where that was happening. And that was Muslim parents who were like, I don't want my kid in this crazy lesson. And the schools were forcing them. And the parents won big at the court, thank God. But I think I've been advocating for a while. I know this maybe is crazy or whatever, but I don't care. I want President Trump to go to a school board meeting and strip their federal funding right there. Like, I think he should go just to send a message to every other out-of-control school board across the country. I think it'd be wonderful.
It sounds like a great photo op for sure. And I would love to see him do that, especially for those that are so badly behaving. I mean, we watch them completely disrespect parents. They're allowing materials in their schools that can and be read at a school board meeting. Maybe Trump could read some of those materials while he's at it at some of these school board meetings while he's taking away their federal funding. But they absolutely should lose funding. They have to be held accountable. Parents have been waiting for this.
Yes.
We've been watching them completely buck the federal law and parents' rights, and we've had enough. So we're ready for that accountability to come.
And this is on the politics of this is a bipartisan issue, because we saw, remember, it was a couple years ago now that the San Francisco School Board was entirely voted out in a parents' revolt. They were like, no, they're left. Even the left-wing San Francisco School Board was voted out. And so, in other words, you know, if the White House is considering the political implications going into the midterms, which of course you should basically try and get a good report card from the voters. If that's what you're considering, baby, take on the schools issue. It's a great one, and all normal people are on the side of decency.
Absolutely. The men and women's sports issue is now a 90-10 issue, not even an 80-20 issue. It's amazing that the Democrats continue to cling to that radical position. When it comes to the questionable materials, especially radical gender ideology materials and pornographic materials in schools, also an 80-20 issue that Republicans are winning. School choice is now an 80-20 issue across the country. We've made huge strides there since the COVID pandemic really exposed the teachers' unions and the government-run schools. And so absolutely, the Republican Party should lean into these issues, and to the independent voters and even moderate Democrats who believe the way that we do, that parents have a right to decide how their children are brought up and how their children are educated.
Erica Donalds, what do you think of Linda McMahon and her efforts to shutter the agency that she currently leads right now? How's that going?
It's going great. We just got a Supreme Court decision last week that said upheld the RIF, the Republic reduction in force that she did just a week into her tenure there. So we've already cut half of the employees at the department. She also announced this week a partnership with the Department of Labor to move some of the workforce efforts out of the Department of Education and into Department of Labor, where they have support for those initiatives, the career and technical style of education. We're also talking about moving the student loan portfolio off into Treasury or Small Business Administration. So little by little, she is enacting exactly what President Trump promised, to get rid of the Department of Education, get rid of that federal bureaucracy that promised to the teachers union that has done nothing to deliver on academic achievement, but has just pushed money around and frankly wasted it on things that the American people just don't want anymore.
Yeah. Maybe we should cut it through rescissions too. We could trim it down a little bit.
That's exactly what she actually was talking to Congress about, some of the rescissions that will be coming in the next rescissions package related to the Department of Education.
Well, that's great news. I love that. Well, Erica Donalds, thank you for just being so versatile and covering all this stuff on education, because it matters so much to so many Americans. Thank you very much for your time today. I really look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you. I'd love to come back.
All right. That's Erica Donalds. She's great. And man, we covered a lot there. But yeah, don't you think, Chad, President Trump should go to a school board meeting and just announce on the spot that he's stripping all of the federal funding from that school district until they obey? And when I say obey, I mean obey federal law. Very simple. No more putting pornography in the classroom. No more treating boys as if they're girls and vice versa. No more screwing with the sports teams. No more deceiving parents, lying to them. No more of that. No more meddling with American families. It all has to stop. In fact, I don't just want federal funding stripped. I want prosecutions for the people to do those evil things. But man, I think it'd be great. Don't you think? Yeah. Okay. You guys are in. Yeah, I think so too. And the president wouldn't have to travel far for it. It would be a boss move. I agree. The president wouldn't have to travel far for that. He could just go outside. They could throw him in the Beast, drive him to Fairfax County, drive him to Montgomery County. Or get in Marine One. It's a short helicopter trip. Land in some baseball field and walk up to the school board meeting and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. No more federal funding to that corrupt place. It'd be good. And it would send a really clear message to the whole country. A really, really clear message to the whole country that this will not be stood for anymore. Time it for the midterms, though. the closer we get to the midterms, and the more you can show that as evidence that the right is on the side of decency and that the left is on the side of madness and abuse, all the better. All the better. Hey, a couple of items for you, and then I've got a programming note for you about what's coming in the next few weeks here on this program. We do say goodbye to Hulk Hogan this week. Yet another legend has passed away. And he passed away at the age of 71 yesterday. He was at his home in Florida. And we have, first of all, just like a reminder here of Hulk Hogan. I guess the last time most of us got to see him was at the Republican National Convention. And since his passing yesterday, I got a chance to watch this clip, and I'll play it for you now. It is more emotionally resonant even than when it happened at the convention. Take a look here. Cut 8. Here's Hulk Hogan.
What happened last week when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States? Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
Man, that's so cool. That was so cool to see at the time. I was talking to producer Jim about this yesterday on the radio show. Jim was there. Jim was in the room. He was seated 6 rows behind the president of the United States there. And he said that the energy at that moment was the most electric that he had seen the whole time. That it was wild inside of that room. If anybody in the chat was in that room, let us know what it was like. But that was just where we were all across the country. Just amazing to see. Really cool. And I know the left is trying to make a mockery of him because they do this all the time. They treat even the recently deceased, maybe especially the recently deceased, like garbage. But the rest of us appreciated him. You know, this guy was larger than life, one of the biggest celebrities on the planet. You thought Hulk Hogan, you thought American flags, you thought American belligerence in the best possible way. It was really cool. And he had a very kind of awesome, sustained career in the limelight forever. And yes, he had his sins. He definitely had his shortcomings. We all do, for sure. But one of the touching stories in the midst of all of this is 18 months ago, he was baptized. And he talked about what a great role Christ played in his life. And he said that the only things that matter are the things that last for eternity. And he's right about that. So a nice message from Hulk Hogan, who has passed at the age of 71. We had all sorts of commemorations pouring in as a result of his passing. We did get the President of the United States talking about this on Truth Social. He was, as you might expect, very appreciative of Hulk Hogan, and they had a good relationship, a good friendship. Here's President Trump, what he had to say. He said, "We lost a great friend today, the Hulkster. Hulk Hogan was MAGA all the way, strong, tough, smart, but with the biggest heart. He gave an absolutely electric speech at the Republican National Convention. It was one of the highlights of the entire week. He entertained fans from all over the world, and the cultural impact he had was massive. To his wife, Sky, and family, we give our warmest, best wishes and love. Hulk Hogan will be greatly missed," says the president. J.D. Vance also offering a commemoration, saying he was a great American icon. And he also said that the last time they talked, they were planning on getting beers together the next time they see each other. J.D. Vance says the next time is going to have to be on the other side. Rest in peace, he writes. And then one of my favorite reactions was from Tom Homan yesterday. Tom Homan, the border czar, was asked if he had a favorite Hulk Hogan moment. And here is cut 9, Tom Homan saying that he actually named one of his dogs after the Hulk.
Tom, a longtime friend of the president passed away today, Hulk Hogan, dead at 71. Do you have a favorite Hulk Hogan memory?
I love Hulk Hogan. I had an Italian Mastiff dog, 200 pounds. His name, Hulk Hogan.
I had an Italian Mastiff dog, 200 pounds. And he named him Hawk Homan, which I think is amazing. Jenny Terre is a New York Post reporter and a friend. She's great. And she has this scoop today. You ready to see Hawk Homan video chat? This is for Rumble. Take a look at this thing. That dog is the 200-pound Italian Mastiff. Look at the size of this. It doesn't even fit on the screen. I'm just trying to... 200 pounds. That is an epic dog. That's the most Tom Homan dog I've ever seen in my life. That's just fantastic. That's a big boy. Good boy. Can you imagine? Anyway, so 200-pound dog. That's like the dog from the Sandlot. That's a big dog. So rest in peace to Hulk Hogan, and I presume also Hulk Homan. The way Tom was talking about his dog in the past tense, so now they've both passed. Rest in peace. Okay, let me see. What do we have time for? Should we talk about American marketing, Justin? Do you think we should get into that detail? America is back, baby, so Justin just declared. Here's the thing. We're getting, the American advertising industry has completely lost its minds, at least for years. I don't know what it was like when you were a kid. It really depends on your age. But there was a time when the marketing in the United States recognized some very simple things, like hot chicks sell products. That used to be a very basic, understood principle. But it got lost in the Obama era. We were served up all of these like weird ads with non-binary freakishness, and we were told that was the way that products were going to sell. In fact, do you remember a couple years ago that the car retailer Jaguar, they began using non-binary people doing sort of weird interpretive dancing as a way to sell cars? Take a look here, cut 11. This is how Jaguar tried to sell vehicles. Notice that you can't really tell, by and large, the gender of any of the people who are involved. It's super artsy and weird and freaky. No car appears in the ad. There's no Jaguar vehicle in the ad. The only time you know it's a Jaguar ad is at the end of the spot, right here when it says Jaguar, and that's it. Do you know what happened after that advertising campaign? Jaguar's sales in Europe plunged dramatically. Are you ready for this number? Only 49 vehicles in Europe were registered in April of 2025, this April. That's a 97.5% drop from the 2,000 units that were sold in the same month last year. All of these sales figures follow Jaguar's rebrand in November of 2024, the ad you just saw with the freakishness involved. So maybe there's a different tact to try. Well, American Eagle, the clothing brand, just tried it. Here they are with their brand new ad campaign this week featuring Sydney Sweeney and, yes, Great American Cleavage.
I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans. And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look amazing. Why would I need to do that? But if you said that you want to buy the jeans, I'm not going to stop you. But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney has very jeans.
You see what I did there, right?
Yeah, I saw what you did there. You lifted American Eagle's stock price. And I think they're practically into double digits now. They right away on the news of the Sydney Sweeney ad campaign, that ad going around, American Eagle stock price went up 4% instantly. That is funny. That's weird. Weird how that would work. Justin says she's a terrible actor. Justin, I don't think most people are watching the acting. I don't think they're concentrating on the acting. So we'll see. We've got this is the laboratory of the free market we're working with here. We'll compare Jaguar sales to American Eagle clothing sales. See how things go. and we'll get back to you with that report. Before I dip out here today on this episode of Vince, I have to tell you a couple programming note for you. Next week, I am going to be taking off for the week. I'm traveling. We're doing that. I'm preparing. We're preparing some shows for you throughout the week, so do stop by. I think we'll have some content for you, at least for a couple of the days next week, including I have a great conversation, as I expect to have, with Sean Davis coming up on Monday. We're going to get into Obamagate, so I've got a Monday show for you at the very least. And then the reason I'm traveling is, first of all, to get a little time with my family, but also because the following week I'm doing all of the shows from the Silverlock Studios in Florida. So I'm going to be in Florida. I'm going to be hanging out with the guys. I've already promised some cigars and some bourbon with Justin. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a huge lineup of great guests coming in. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And I'm always grateful to you. Look at it. It's just waiting for me. It's just waiting for me. All Haley's stuff is there, which is cool. I'll just do the show in front of Haley's stuff. Haley's got a great setup there. But Haley's going to share it with me. So I'll show up to the Silverlock Studio. We'll be doing it there. It's going to be great. And I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you, guys. The best damn audience in media. You're really great. And yeah, this was a fun show. I've got another one for you Monday. Thanks for being with me on Vince. Coming up next here on Rumble, I presume it's Tim Pool today, Justin. Oh, is it Crowder on a Friday? You know, I never really can keep track, but I tried to. Here he comes, Steven Crowder.